This was supposed to be just another photo shoot, but within minutes, it turned into one of the most explosive celebrity moments of the year. Because when Rihanna dropped those lingerie photos, the internet didn't just react, it erupted. And not for the reason you think. At first, it looked like business as usual, bold poses, unapologetic confidence, and visuals so intense people were literally saying they had to look twice. But then something shifted. The conversation stopped being about Rihanna, and suddenly, all eyes locked onto one man. A$AP Rocky. And what happened next? Nobody saw it coming. Within minutes, fans started tagging him, questioning him, mocking him. Some were laughing, others were genuinely concerned. The comments got darker, louder, more aggressive by the second. People weren't just reacting anymore, they were demanding answers. How is he okay with this? Is he even in control anymore? Did she just publicly embarrass him? And just when the pressure hit its peak, Rocky finally responded. 5 words. Cold. Calm. Unbothered. But somehow, those 5 words made everything worse. Because instead of calming the situation, his response ignited a completely different kind of fire, one that split the internet straight down the middle. Half the world started calling him the most secure man alive, while the other half claimed this was proof something deeper was going on behind the scenes. And that's when things took a turn no one was ready for. Because insiders began hinting that this wasn't just about a photo shoot, and it definitely wasn't just about a relationship. This was about power, control, and a silent message that Rihanna may have just sent to the entire world, without saying a single word. So the real question is, did Rihanna just defend her freedom, or did she expose something about A$AP Rocky that nobody was supposed to notice? Because what we uncovered next changes everything. What most people don't realize is that this moment didn't just appear out of nowhere, it had been building for years, quietly, subtly, almost like a pressure cooker waiting to explode. Because to understand why this situation hit this hard, you have to understand who Rihanna really is when it comes to control, image, and power. This is not just a pop star posting photos. This is a woman who turned herself into an empire. From the moment she stepped into the spotlight as a teenager, Rihanna wasn't just chasing fame, she was studying it, mastering it, bending it to her will. Over time, she stopped playing by the industry's rules, and started rewriting them. Music made her a global icon, but business is what made her untouchable. Fenty Beauty didn't just succeed, it dominated. Savage X Fenty didn't just sell lingerie, it redefined how the world looks at body confidence, ownership, and self-expression. Every campaign, every visual, every post, is calculated, intentional, and powerful. And here's where it gets deeper. Rihanna doesn't just promote her brand, she embodies it. When she posts, it's not random. It's strategy. So when those photos dropped, insiders weren't surprised by the visuals, they were watching the timing. Because this wasn't the first time she pushed boundaries. From bold Valentine's Day campaigns, to controversial bridal shoots that had people questioning hidden messages, to moments that felt almost like she was daring the world to react, there's a pattern here. And each time, the reaction gets louder, more divided, more intense. And somehow, every single time, the spotlight circles back to one person. A$AP Rocky. Now on the surface, their relationship looks solid. Untouchable, even. Years of friendship turned into love. A pandemic-era bond that grew into something real, something raw. They built a family together, welcomed children, supported each other publicly, and seemed to move as a unit. But behind that image, the internet has never fully trusted it. Because Rocky came into this relationship with baggage. Old interviews where he openly talked about non-traditional relationships, comments that made people question how he really views commitment, and then the rumors. The cheating allegations that spread like wildfire during Rihanna's pregnancy. The names, the speculation, the denials, even when they were shut down, the damage was already done. And once the public creates a narrative, it doesn't let go. So now every move Rihanna makes is analyzed through that lens. Every photo. Every caption. Every campaign. And when those lingerie images hit the internet this time, people weren't just looking at Rihanna anymore. They were looking for signals. Was this empowerment? Was this marketing? Or was this something more personal, something aimed directly at Rocky? Because the truth is, the power dynamic between them has always been unusual. Rihanna isn't just more famous, she's operating on an entirely different level. Billion-dollar businesses. Global influence. Cultural impact that stretches far beyond music. And Rocky? Still successful. Still respected. But in comparison, the gap is impossible to ignore. And that's exactly where the conversation started to spiral. Because suddenly, people weren't just talking about photos anymore. They were asking a much more uncomfortable question. What happens when one person in a relationship becomes too powerful? Some fans started defending Rocky, saying his calm response proved maturity, that he understands the woman he's with, respects her independence, and isn't threatened by her success. But others weren't buying it. They said that wasn't confidence. That was surrender. That was a man who had no choice but to accept whatever happens, because pushing back would mean losing everything. And just when that debate was reaching its peak, something else resurfaced. Something from Rocky's past that completely changed how people started looking at this entire situation. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about Rihanna's photos anymore. It became about whether Rocky's past decisions had finally caught up to him in a way no one expected. And just when people thought they had the story figured out, that's when everything spiraled into something way bigger than a simple photo shoot. Because behind the scenes, whispers started spreading, fast. Not from random fans, but from so-called insiders who claimed this moment wasn't just about marketing or confidence. They hinted that there had been tension building quietly between Rihanna and A$AP Rocky for months, and that these photos were just the public trigger. And suddenly, the internet went from guessing to digging. Old clips resurfaced. Interviews people had ignored before were now being replayed in slow motion, analyzed word by word. One particular moment kept getting shared over and over again, Rocky casually talking about relationships in a way that didn't sit right with people anymore. Back then, it sounded bold, even confident. But now? It sounded reckless. And fans started connecting dots. Wait, didn't he say he wasn't the settling down type? Didn't rumors come out before? Why does this feel like a pattern? Then came the first twist that no one was ready for. A viral post, allegedly from someone close to the situation, claimed that Rihanna had been fully aware of the online narrative building around Rocky, and instead of shutting it down, she let it grow. Let that sink in. According to this claim, she didn't just post those photos randomly. She knew exactly what the reaction would be. She knew the spotlight would shift onto Rocky. And she knew the internet would start questioning him. If that's true, then this wasn't just a photo shoot. This was a move. And the moment that post hit timelines, everything changed. Because now people weren't just debating Rocky's response anymore, they were questioning Rihanna's intentions. Was she sending a message? Was she testing him? Or was she exposing something about their relationship without ever saying a word? And then Rocky responded again. Not directly. Not in a statement. But in a way that made things even more confusing. He was spotted smiling. Calm. Relaxed. Almost like nothing was happening. No tension. No reaction. No visible frustration. And for some people, that made things even worse. Because now the narrative split into two extreme sides. One side said, "This is what a real man looks like. Secure. Unbothered. Not controlled by ego." But the other side? They went all in. They said, "No, this is what it looks like when someone knows they can't say anything." And that's when the situation exploded into something completely uncontrollable. Fake screenshots started circulating. Alleged DMs, unverified, messy, dramatic, claiming there had been arguments behind closed doors. Messages that hinted at jealousy, frustration, even emotional distance. None of it confirmed, but that didn't stop millions of people from believing it. Because once doubt enters the conversation, it spreads like wildfire. Then came another unexpected twist. A trending thread broke down the timeline of Rihanna's most controversial campaigns, and when people lined them up, something stood out. Each one was more bold than the last. More revealing. More provocative. More impossible to ignore. And according to the thread, each drop seemed to happen right after a moment when Rocky was either under pressure or being questioned publicly. Now, was that coincidence? Or something intentional? Because if it wasn't random, then that would mean Rihanna wasn't just responding to the world. She was controlling it. And possibly, controlling how Rocky was seen within it. And just when it felt like the narrative couldn't get any more intense, a well-known media personality jumped into the conversation, and what they said pushed this entire situation into a level of controversy nobody expected. Because now, this wasn't just fans talking anymore. This was the industry stepping in. And what they revealed next? It raised a question that no one had even thought to ask before, but once it was out there, it became impossible to ignore. And the moment the industry stepped in, everything changed. Because this wasn't just random fans arguing in comment sections anymore, this was voices with influence stepping into the fire and pouring gasoline on it. A well-known media personality went live and didn't hold back. They looked straight into the camera and said what millions had been thinking, but were too hesitant to say out loud. This isn't just a relationship anymore, this is a power imbalance playing out in real time. That one sentence? It detonated across the internet. Within minutes, clips of that statement were everywhere. TikTok, X, YouTube Shorts, everyone was reposting it, reacting to it, breaking it down like it was some kind of coded message. And suddenly, the conversation shifted again. Now it wasn't just about Rihanna's photos. It wasn't just about Rocky's response. It became a full-blown debate about dominance, control, and what happens when one person in a relationship becomes larger than life. Supporters of Rihanna came in strong. They argued this was exactly who she's always been, fearless, unapologetic, and completely in control of her image. They said anyone trying to turn this into a relationship issue was missing the point entirely. This is her brand. This is her power. This is what she built. But the other side? They weren't backing down. They pointed at A$AP Rocky and said something felt off. Not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't say. No emotional reaction. No frustration. No attempt to defend himself. Just silence, and that calm, almost too perfect response. And that silence became louder than anything else. Because in a world where celebrity couples explode over the smallest things, Rocky didn't explode at all. And people didn't know what to do with that. Then came the fan wars. One side flooded timelines with praise. Rocky is secure. He trusts his woman. This is what maturity looks like. But the other side? They went dark. This isn't security, this is submission. He's lost control of the narrative. He's being played in front of the world. And once that word, played, started trending, it was over. Because now, every clip, every photo, every interview was being reinterpreted through that lens. People started digging deeper. They brought up the past again, the rumors, the interviews, the moments where Rocky's words didn't exactly match the image he's trying to present now. And suddenly, those old clips didn't feel like random moments anymore. They felt like clues. Then things escalated even further. A fake news-style post started circulating, claiming that brands were watching the situation closely, analyzing engagement, controversy levels, and public perception around both Rihanna and Rocky. Was it real? No one could confirm. But it didn't matter. Because it sounded believable enough, and that's all the internet needed. Now the narrative wasn't just emotional, it became strategic. People started asking, is this all part of a bigger plan? Is controversy being used as marketing? Or is this relationship actually under pressure behind the scenes? And right in the middle of all this chaos, Rihanna stayed silent. No clarification. No follow-up. No attempt to calm anything down. Just silence. And somehow, that silence spoke louder than everything else. Because the longer she said nothing, the more people started to believe that this wasn't accidental. That every reaction, every debate, every viral moment was exactly what was supposed to happen. And that's when the most dangerous question of all started spreading. What if Rihanna didn't just post those photos? What if she knew exactly how it would affect Rocky, and did it anyway? Because if that's true, then this isn't just a viral moment anymore. It's something much deeper, something far more calculated. And just when it seemed like the story couldn't possibly get any more intense, a new detail surfaced, one that completely flipped the narrative yet again. And this time, even the people defending them started to hesitate. And just when it felt like the chaos had reached its peak, that's when the final piece dropped, and it didn't just shake the story, it flipped it completely. Because out of nowhere, a new clip started circulating. Not a rumor. Not a fake DM. An actual moment. It was an older interview featuring A$AP Rocky, but this time, people weren't watching it for entertainment, they were dissecting it like evidence. In the clip, Rocky wasn't angry. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't even trying to prove anything. He was calm. And what he said, it hit completely different now. He talked about trust. About letting your partner be who they are. About not trying to control someone just because the world expects you to. At the time, it sounded like a casual perspective, but now, in the middle of this storm, it felt almost predictive. Like he had already made peace with something the internet was still struggling to understand. And suddenly, the narrative started shifting again. Because people began to realize something uncomfortable. What if nothing was wrong? What if there was no hidden tension, no secret message, no silent power struggle? What if the entire internet had built a massive, emotional, chaotic story around a situation that the two people involved were completely at peace with? That idea? It didn't sit well with a lot of people. Because drama is easy to consume, but stability? Stability doesn't go viral. So instead of accepting that possibility, the conversation split one final time. One side finally slowed down. They started saying, maybe we overreacted. Maybe this is just how their relationship works. Maybe we're projecting. But the other side? They refused to let it go. They doubled down harder than ever. No, something still isn't right. People don't react like that unless there's more going on. This can't just be normal. And that tension, between reality and perception, became the real story. Because at the center of all of this, Rihanna never changed. She kept posting. Kept building. Kept moving like nothing had happened. No explanation. No apology. No breakdown. Just control. And maybe, that was the biggest reveal of all. Because while the internet was busy tearing itself apart trying to understand their relationship, Rihanna and Rocky never broke. Not publicly. Not emotionally. Not even slightly. And that leaves us with one final question. Was this entire situation a calculated move that proved just how powerful Rihanna really is? Or did it expose something even deeper about how the world reacts when a man refuses to lose control, and a woman refuses to give it up? Because one thing is certain. This story isn't over. And if everything we've seen so far was just the surface, then what's coming next might be something nobody is ready for. Now tell me, whose side are you on? Do you think Rocky handled this like a real partner, or do you think there's something deeper going on behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts below, because this debate is far from over. And if you thought this situation was intense, just wait until you see what's about to come next. Make sure you like, subscribe, and stay locked in, because the next update, it might change everything. Now, after everything you've just seen, after all the reactions, the debates, the theories, and the twists, the real question is no longer just about Rihanna or A$AP Rocky. it's about you. Because this situation has completely divided the internet, and there is no middle ground anymore. So I need you to be real for a second. Do you think Rocky handled this like a confident, secure man who truly understands his partner? Or do you think something deeper is going on that we're not being told? Was Rihanna simply promoting her brand the way she always has? Or was this a calculated move that sent a message louder than any words ever could? And be honest. If this happened in a normal relationship, not celebrities, not billion-dollar empires, just regular people, would it still feel the same? Or would the reaction be completely different? Because that's where this conversation gets dangerous. Some people are saying this is the definition of a healthy, modern relationship. Others are saying this is what happens when one person gains so much power, the balance completely shifts. So where do you stand? Drop your opinion in the comments right now, and don't hold back. I want to see real debates under this video. And trust me, I'll be reading everything. Also, if you made it this far, you already know this story is far from over. Because sources are now hinting that this situation might escalate even further, and if what's being whispered behind the scenes turns out to be true, this could take a turn nobody saw coming. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next update on this story, it's going to be even bigger, even messier, and way more shocking than anything we've covered today. Stay locked in.